All right, everybody. Welcome back to Stories from a Mountain Town. This is your host, Tyler Meany, coming to you from Jackson, Wyoming, as always. Today with me, I have a new friend of ours, Matt Robson. He is recently moved here to Jackson. Matt, say hi to everyone.
Hey everybody, I've moved here early October, so
Yeah.
pretty new.
Yeah, pretty new here. We actually, Matt and I just met last Friday, actually not even a week ago. Are you and Jillian married, or are you just dating?
No, we're just dating.
Yeah. So our girlfriends work at the hospital together. Jillian is a labor and delivery nurse as well.
Yep.
So super cool connection there. And today, like we always do, I ask the guest what kind of drink they'd like me to provide for the podcast, and we have a recurring drink in Paco's IPA from Snake River Brewing. It seems to be a local favorite, and I love it. Obviously, I like IPAs, but it's got a husky on the logo or on the label, so gotta love that. So we already poured into these and got our noses into it.
Pretty good. I've
So
had it before, but never out of a glass. I think it's better out of a glass than out of the can for sure.
yeah, I like doing IPAs out of glasses or cups.
Yeah, you pretty much have to.
Because it seems like, I don't know if it's like the metallic-y can stuff messes with the bitterness.
I think it's either that or it's not being able to, like you said, have your nose in it. You got to be able to smell it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the wide glass, it does something with the smell because your taste is apparently affected by your smell.
Yeah, like dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
They say, what's the thing? They say that food that is prepared for you tastes better because your nose hasn't had a chance to like smell it while you're
really?
making it. Yeah, so you smell like the sandwich. You smell the sandwich while you're making it, so your body isn't like as like
it's
wowed.
immune to it.
It isn't as wowed by the flavor when you start eating it because you just smelt it, and that's like partially tasting it.
Yeah, makes sense.
But yeah. So Matt here is a snowmaker for Jackson Hole Mountain Resort, and even he hasn't had the opportunity of doing a ton of that this year because it's been kind of warm.
Very warm.
But yeah, tell people what that's like.
It's awesome. I've had a lot of fun jobs, which I think we'll kind of get into with this.
Yeah.
I don't want to say this is the most fun job that I've ever had, but it's up there with them. I mean, everybody that I work with is super cool. A bunch of people my age, real outdoorsy. We get to rip around on snowmobiles and four-wheelers and get to play with high-pressure water and air, and it's a lot of fun. You're outside all day, you're on the mountain, and you make it snow. It's awesome. It's pretty laid back, but when it's time to get the work done, it's 100%, and it can be pretty hard. I mean, you're carrying around big hoses and you're dragging stuff through the snow and you're digging out stuff, but it's a blast. I love it.
Yeah. What made you want to like apply to that or get into that here in Jackson?
I had a buddy that I worked with while I was living in Hawaii. He's another kayak guide, and he had done it in Colorado. And I'd always told him that I wanted to live out in the mountains for winter and be able to ski and snowboard the whole time and have a job out there. And he said, well, I think you'd be a good fit for doing snowmaking. And I had no idea that they even made snow out here. I figured that was an East Coast thing back where I'm from, but you've got to have it to open up early like they want to do here. So that's what I got into, and it's been a good fit so far.
Yeah, even in the places like here or any of the big resorts, they all have to in the beginning. And then here specifically, the land that the resort is on is super rocky.
Mm-hmm.
So to get any sort of skiable coverage, like you need a fake base for a lot of it. And then eventually, the big snow comes and then the rocks get covered. But
Right. And then you can go kind of wherever on the mountain.
Yeah.
But yeah, for right now, we've got White Ribbon of Death that we've made. And luckily it was cold in mid-October. If we hadn't had that, the resort probably wouldn't be open on Thanksgiving like they want to do, because we made a ton of snow.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first time I'd ever done anything like this. I didn't really know anything about it. It was kind of like getting thrown into the fire because I didn't know what I was doing, and they were like, "Oh, it's cold right now. Let's get this going." So it was a good way to learn, but at the same time, it was stressful because I didn't know what I was doing. And they wanted to produce, so good that we got it though.
Yeah. What's your average day look like? Like what do you do when you get there, and then as the day progresses, what do you guys do?
Yeah, so I work day shift, day crew, and I get there at 12 in the afternoon. We go up, we get dressed. We got to wear these mountaineering boots that are like hard plastic and are heavy and suck to walk in, but so it is what it is. They're like walking in ski boots the whole time.
Why is that?
Safety.
Like in case you drop something or something falls on
Yeah,
you?
in case something falls on your foot, or in case it goes under the snowmobile, or any of that kind of stuff. They have a lot
OSHA.
of OSHA, exactly.
Yeah.
We wear during the day. We have to wear high vis vests. We've got flags on every piece of equipment. I mean, it's all safety based, and they want us to be as safe as we can be. But it's a dangerous job. I mean, there's no way around that. I've already seen a few people get hurt, and it just is what it is.
Uh-huh.
You just got to be careful.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah.
We get there, we get dressed up, we come down. Shift manager tells us, kind of the game plan, and we go from there. And it could be warm out, and we're going and replacing hydrants. Where our air and water come out of, the main pipes that go up the runs. We could be moving guns around. There's all kinds of different tasks. And then, when it's cold, it's time to fire it up. So hook the hoses to the guns, get them making the right kind of snow. Some of the guns you have to tweak. Other ones, you just set them to the right pressure and let them roll. But you have to constantly, run through, check things, dig things out, and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of labor.
Yeah. Are you I always see around the water pipes at different resorts, you see just water and then ice sprayed everywhere. You guys just constantly getting sprayed on when you guys are switching hoses around?
Well, when you switch hoses, you try to let the pressure bleed off before you take the hose off the hydrant. Because that can be pretty dangerous. So I mean, we're running 800 psi of water and around 100 psi of air. So you don't want to take those hoses off when there's pressure built up, because it could hit you pretty darn hard.
Is it like a fire hydrant type pressure?
Yeah, it's like a fire hydrant type pressure, and the hoses that we have are basically, as far as I know, the same exact thing that the firefighters use.
Oh, yeah.
And they've got big metal couplings on the end, and if one of those things comes loose and hits you, that's going to be a bad deal.
Yeah. You guys, you said you wear helmets, right?
Yeah, we have to wear helmets.
Yeah.
Are
they hard hats or rock climbing?
Yeah, they're they're kind of like hard hats. I think they're called Pacific helmets or something.
Oh.
They have built-in earmuffs on them, which is nice because some of the guns that we use are super loud.
Yeah.
And I think the helmets are mainly for if we fall off a snowmobile, or some of the guns that we use are mounted on big poles and they get ice up on them.
Mm.
So if you go to move them, the ice will fall off, and getting hit by a big icicle in the head would be bad.
Yeah.
So the helmets are good for that too. But we pretty much, if you're on the hill, you've got your helmet on.
Yeah.
You've got to. So yeah, I mean, I've only been doing it about a month, and we've really only had maybe 10 days of actually making snow in that month. So I can't really say that I'm a snowmaker yet, but I feel like at the end of the season, I'll have a pretty good idea of how to do it and everything. It's not rocket science. You take compressed air and compressed water and shoot it in the air, whether it's via fan or just the pressure coming out of the hydrant. One of those two will make it snow if it's cold enough.
And that's the difference between the snowmakers that are like a wide, like a barrel kind of looking
the
one,
barrel
versus
ones are called
those ones that are
polecats.
just a little It's like a little jet kind of looking.
Yep. So the polecats, basically, they have the little jets around that barrel.
Yeah.
And those are spraying out compressed water and compressed air. And then you've got the fan behind it that pushes it out. And that fan, produces like a wind chill factor. So those guns will make snow warmer than the other kind will.
Yeah.
Because they have that wind chill factor. The other ones, they just spray out the water really fine and the air really hard against it. And I guess the air breaks up the water molecule really small. And I don't know what you would call it, but I guess the coldness of that air coming and hitting the water makes it freeze.
Yeah. And there's something to do too with is there some sort of chemical that makes that snow, that fake snow, it melts higher, or it's able to be made at a higher temperature, or is it just that wind chill thing you said?
So I just learned about this a few days ago, and I didn't really get into it, but they have some kind of a bacteria that they put into the water that makes it freeze at a higher temperature. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it does it, but they've got this big tank of it, and I assume that it's fine to be breathing in and eating and ingesting whatever.
We'll check back in 30 years, and Matt might have lung cancer, but for now he's okay.
If I make it that long, then it is what it is.
Yeah. Cool. So that's a really cool job. There's so many in my career and in my day-to-day, I would never run into someone that's a snowmaker, and I've always been around ski resorts and things, but I've never actually been able to talk to someone about that. I worked as a lifty in Minnesota for a little bit, but that was hell.
I bet.
I did it it was like a college job. I was like, I just need some extra money. I'll just get this job because I was super qualified. I already had done internships, but it was during the season, the school year. So I was like, I just want some more money, and I stayed for 3 weeks and then quit because it was like a 10-hour shift, and you couldn't even take a break. You didn't get breaks, and it's 10-hour shifts just looking at chairs going around on a chairlift. And I already have ADD, but that was just terrible for it.
Yeah, my buddy Kyle, he good friend of mine from home I grew up with, he moved out to Colorado before I came out here, and he worked his first season as a lifty. And, he said it was hell. He said that mainly what he had to do, at least out in Breckenridge where he worked, was he would have to drag bodies. So the people that fall off the top of the lift, apparently a lot of them can't get up on their own. So you just got to grab them by whatever you can get and drag them out of the way.
Yeah.
So you get the lift back up and going. Oh, yeah.
Sounds
boring.
They used to play a game on one of the lifts that I would work. It was like a newer one. It's one of the detachable ones. So they had a computer that would say how long between since the last stop. And if you lasted an entire shift without stopping it, the manager would buy you a case of beer. So then that led to me. Yeah, led to me seeing someone fall and being like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna stop it. I'll just go help them," because I wanted the beer.
It's not that bad. We'll just drag them out of the way real quick.
Yeah, but there's a ton of that when you're just the lift is coming. Just how did you fall there? And then frustrating seeing that many people fall off of it.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people that have never skied before. Yeah. And they decide, well, where's the best place to go skiing? That's where I'm going.
Oh my God, yeah. And they go up the tram, and then they're then I heard last year it was really bad from the Icon Pass stuff.
Oh yeah.
They had an absurd amount of ski patrollers needing to help people that had gotten injured on Rendezvous Bowl. Mm-hmm. Have you been here before?
I've never skied here before, but I've heard the stories.
Yeah, so Rendezvous Bowl is where you have to go right off the tram. It's a black diamond, but it's a big wide bowl, so you can kind of inch your way down if you're unsure. But if it's snowing, there's super bad visibility. It's really windy. There's days you get vertigo up there.
Yeah,
it's extreme. But so people would come with their Icon Pass because they see Jackson's getting snow. They come up from Salt Lake City usually, and they go up to the top of the tram, and they're just all right, this is what you do here.
Yeah, take the biggest and baddest up.
Yeah, but they aren't good enough to go down Rendezvous Bowl or figure their way out down the rest of the hill. So they had a lot. The ski patrol had a lot more to do at the upper mountain areas from people just going up there that shouldn't be.
Yeah, I've heard bad things about the Icon Pass here, and I totally understand localism and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I get that, but yeah, I'm sure it makes it harder because you get all the people that don't usually ski here coming.
Yeah. Yeah, when you get like really good skiers that they're usually at Alta or Snowbird, they know what they're doing. But there's others that are like, well, honey, let's that was a funny voice I just pulled up for that. Well, honey, let's just go take a trip to the most extreme ski resort in America.
I mean, if we're going to go, we might as well go all the way.
Let's bring the kiddos up to the top of the tram. Let's get a waffle.
Oh, yeah.
And then they just decide to ski down, even though there's the warning signs. There's the tram operators give you a warning and say, this is not like any river mountain you've ever skied before. This is way harder. If you don't know what you're doing, just ride down. And you can ride the tram down in any time, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've only ever skied out in Breckenridge before coming here. That's the only out west skiing that I've done. I mean, I grew up in Maryland. We have hills there that we ski on, and we ski on ice on those hills. And, but did it a lot growing up and had a really good time with it. A big trip for me would be going to Seven Springs, which is in Pennsylvania. And, that's maybe an eighth of the height of here.
Yeah.
But
it's like a little bit higher than like the Tiwanaut chair.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah,
and it was fun. It's a good way to cut your teeth.
That's what I grew up on too in Minnesota. It's just like a lot of the resorts are in the St. Croix River Valley, so they're like, what the river carved out millions of years ago. There's kind of these hills there. The only elevation is in that area,
right?
In around the Twin Cities of Minnesota, and it was like maybe half of the vertical of Tiwanaut was the highest part of the resort.
Yep.
So that's what I started doing. But yeah, you said you're born and raised in Maryland.
Yep.
What city in Maryland?
So I grew up Maryland's weird. They go by counties there.
Oh, really?
Which I never thought was a weird thing growing up because that's all I knew. But I grew up in Howard County, kind of out towards the western end. So if I have to tell people the city that I'm from, I say Frederick because I'm closer to Frederick than I am to Baltimore, and I would much rather go into Frederick than I would into Baltimore. Everything that everybody has ever heard of Baltimore is probably true.
Yeah.
It's not a good place.
Frederick. I'm looking it up on Google Maps right now.
Yeah. So Frederick's kind of getting out towards the mountains, and Maryland's a cool state because you've got a little bit of everything. Where I lived, you could drive an hour and a half and be in mountains, and you could drive 3 hours and be at the beach. Uh-huh. So you don't get the best of anything, but you get a taste of everything there.
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of cool. So
I like that line.
Yeah.
You don't get the best, Maryland. You don't get the best of anything, but you get a taste of everything. We should call up their travel department and say like, all right, we got your next tagline.
But Maryland's it's a cool place, and I'm glad to be from there. And
how far away is that from like DC? Because I can see it's pretty close here on the map.
Yeah, it's pretty close. I would say, depends on traffic, but probably an hour with no traffic.
I like that you did it in the time it takes to get there. That's a Minnesotan thing too.
Oh,
where
really?
We just say like, how far away is blank, and you just say the time it takes to get there, not the miles.
No, the miles don't count for anything.
Yeah. Other places like maybe like I think here they do more miles.
Yeah, probably.
Other places where
here you get on the road and do the speed limit. Places in Maryland, you get on the road, you ain't doing half the speed limit.
Yeah.
Not a chance.
So did you have a lot of like friends or people that you knew that like worked in DC or worked around like the federal government?
Not really. So the area that I grew up in, Maryland, is kind of strange. It's a very wealthy area, but it's only become very wealthy in probably the past 20 years. Uh-huh. So when my parents moved there, they built a house, and it was very rural. Yeah. And so for my, growing up until about the age of 10, 12, it was a very rural area. A lot of farms, a lot of open land, kind of the sticks. Mm-hmm. And I guess a lot of government contractors have made a lot of money in the past, decade or so. And so they've all moved out to that area. So a lot of mini mansions, a lot of lot huggers, these enormous houses that, barely fit on their plot of land.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot. And so for me and a lot of my friend group, our parents didn't have that kind of money when they got out there. So when we all graduated from high school and, some went to college, others didn't, we couldn't afford to live there.
Yeah.
You couldn't afford an apartment anywhere within the close proximity. So a lot of people ended up, living with their parents for a while after school, and some still do. Nothing wrong with that. And a lot have moved away. It's just kind of, you're almost forced out because you just can't afford to live around the area unless you've got a really well-paying job.
Yeah.
Or unless, you took over your parents' company.
Unless you're one of those government people.
Right, exactly. So, it's a good area to grow up in. A lot has changed. But, I'm trying to give people an idea of what it's like there. And I don't know. It depends. I guess it depends how you grew up. So I was never really pushed into doing sports, at least not through high school and stuff like that. A lot of my buddies and I, we hunted, we rode dirt bikes, we mountain biked, we like to be outside.
Yeah.
Whereas I would say the vast majority of people who grew up in that area played sports and, kind of did that thing, organized sports, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we were kind of, I guess a little bit outcast. We were kind of redneck, I guess you could say. I'm trying to put it, in a better light, but yeah.
A lot of people take that as a compliment, though.
Well, there ain't nothing wrong with being redneck.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a lot of redneck tendencies, and it's funny that my girlfriend, she's from Boston. So, some of the stuff that I bring up, she's just like, what the hell were you guys thinking? Like, well, that's what you did for fun there.
Well, honey, when you shoot a propane tank, it blows up.
Right,
What more is there to say?
Yeah. I mean, she hears about some of the parties that we had back in high school and stuff, and she's just like, what the hell? Like, you went out in a field with 30, 40 pallets and had a huge bonfire and towed a couch around behind a pickup truck and rode on it. Well, yeah. Fun.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah.
But in that area, I would say there's very little of that going on anymore.
Yeah.
It's the area's grown up. It's all developed.
Yeah, I have heard that. I don't know what time period they're talking about, but something happened where all of a sudden, like all these government contractors and like lobbying companies, like they just all moved into like that DC and the surrounding areas to get, the benefits you'd get from being around the federal government.
Right. Yeah, a lot of money.
And so it's just like exploded to this thing where it's actually like a money-making place to go.
Oh, yeah.
Where maybe in the past it wasn't as much.
No, it definitely wasn't as much.
Because isn't DC wasn't it actually built on a swamp?
Oh, yeah.
Like when they say drain the swamp,
it's like a shitty area.
It's like actually kind of like they're actually calling it what it was.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you go to DC in the summertime, and it'll be 100 degrees and 100% humidity.
Ugh,
and it's rough. Now they've killed back all the bugs that you would get.
Yeah.
But it's still hot and low lying, and I would never live there.
Yeah, I've never been to DC, and I don't know. I don't know what it would take for me to go there. That's not my scene.
Growing up, when I was in middle school and stuff, we would go on field trips to the museums there.
Oh yeah, those would be cool.
Which the museums there are cool, but I guess when you grow up with it, you're kind of jaded by it, and you don't really understand the stuff that they have there, and that they don't have that other places. You really take it for granted, and you do anywhere that you live after a while. But we would
I think until you're right, that happens. Like when you're a kid, whatever is normal for you, you take it for granted, and then as a teenager, you're like, oh, that was stupid. Because everyone, that's what you do as a teenager.
Right.
And then I don't think you circle back until maybe like 22, 23. That's when it was for me.
Yeah.
When you start to reappreciate, like, oh, wait, this is special.
Right.
You know? And
right. Other people don't have this. This is different.
Yeah. Like for me, it was, we had a cabin in northern Wisconsin on a really beautiful lake. It was a really great place. So as a kid, you could go there all the time, and it was great. And then you get to be a teenager, and I want to be, you want to be trying to be popular in high school, and you want to hang out with the cool kids and whatever. And I went there a little bit less. And then in college, and then once I started getting out of college, it was like, wait, this is a really, really sick, special place that I can do all these things I want to do, hang out with my family, and so you like reappreciate it after you're like, wait, I don't actually care about being cool anymore.
Yeah,
like, you are who you are. Like it is. You just kind of grow out of that.
Yeah, that's definitely true. That's you don't and even places that you live for a while, you can become jaded by. I mean, I think we're going to get into kind of the different places that I've lived and the things that I've taken from them. But just as an example, I lived in Hawaii for 3 years, and I worked as a kayak guide. And I was thinking about it today. There were days where I would go out, and it would be nice, and I'd have guests that were kind of and I'd be like, man, today sucked. And I was still in Hawaii kayaking for work.
Yeah.
And, the guests might have been but it wasn't that bad. And, but you become jaded by, or you become immune to wherever you live. And I really think that that's true.
I maybe you'll probably get into this the more you live here, but I try really hard to never lose my appreciation for what we get to do here every day. Mm-hmm. Like I tried every single day. I want to see the Grand, and it's easy for me because I live here.
Right.
But if it's cloudy, I'll like go somewhere, or like every day I want to be in the mountains doing something, because I never want to lose that appreciation that I had when I moved here, just starry-eyed,
right?
And like, holy crap, I'm still here. And it's been, what's it been? 8 months.
Yeah.
And you lose a little bit of the luster because you're like, it's just your day to day.
Sure.
It doesn't feel like a vacation anymore. Mm-hmm. But I've actively tried really hard to keep that appreciation.
Yeah. That's good. So
keep that appreciation for Jackson if you love it.
Yeah, and that's what you should do. I mean, you gotta make sure that you appreciate wherever you are, because the other thing is that there is something cool and something interesting no matter where you are.
Yeah.
Like for me, driving out here was interesting because I've never driven across the country before. We drove from Maine to get here. But, even in the middle of the Midwestern states where it's all flat and it's all, crops and agriculture, it's cool because it's so flat. And it can be calm 1 minute, and you go 10 miles down the road and it can be windy as hell. Yeah. And, it's unique. Now, would I want to live there? Probably not. Mm-hmm. But it's unique and it's special in its own way. And I think that you need to appreciate places for what they are. And you can find something cool about anywhere.
Definitely, yeah. I made the drive from Minnesota to here a bunch of times back and forth before I moved here, and then more now that we moved here, because we have all these weddings to go back to.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said it in that tone. We have all these great friends that are getting married that we want to be there for this special day. Was that better, friends? So we've done the drive a bunch. And in the beginning, going through like South Dakota, it's that flat, just barren. I was like, God, this is awful. We should just like put a nuke in that section of the country and just so that Minnesota attaches to Wyoming or something like that. But then I've read these books about like the frontier and Jim Bridger and the American, like the pioneering times. And after reading those books, it like revitalized all the crazy shit that happened in these areas, because you read about these like cowboys versus Indian battles, and they use like the rolling hills. You can just disappear, but you're like super close to the opponent,
right?
And how they navigated lands and how they survived out there in kind of a barren area.
Yeah,
it totally changed the way I viewed that part of the drive.
Yeah. No, what was?
But live out of a tent.
Oh, if you were going to live out of a tent, this would be the one to do it in.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway, back to the Badlands. We camped out there. We knew the storm was coming, and it was beautiful. There wasn't a slight breeze at all. It was dead still. The sunset that night was incredible. Got some really cool pictures of the Badlands through there and with the sunset behind it. So we go to bed and we're like, all right, so what are we going to do about this storm? I'm like, well, let's sleep for a little while, and if it wakes us up, we'll pack up and we'll just keep driving. Mm-hmm. And so we go to bed. Well, we wake up at 3 a.m. and the wind is screaming. I mean, it is screaming.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, time to go. So we pack everything up. We're trying to put stuff. We got one of those big top boxes for the SUV to put extra stuff in. Shit's flying out of there with the wind. Jill's running through this campground, pitch black, trying to grab stuff, put it back in there. We get on the road, and we've got it's a '01 Lexus LX 470, basically a Toyota Land Cruiser. Uh-huh. Thing weighs like 6,500 pounds.
Heavy.
Dry weight, which is heavy.
Yeah.
And we've got, I don't know how many hundred of pounds on it. Moving all our stuff.
Your whole life in there, right?
Our whole life, right. Our whole life is in this thing. And I'm driving, and that thing is getting blown all over the highway.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. I've never felt wind like that. At least I've never driven through wind like that. Uh-huh. But we got out. We hit Wyoming and stopped for gas, and the handles were frozen to the pump. I'm like, holy crap! Like, it's cold and this is gnarly. Like, I wasn't expecting this.
Welcome to Wyoming.
Yeah, exactly. Like, welcome to wintertime. Yeah. And Jill, she doesn't like the cold. She's not a cold weather person. She likes the beach and the sunshine. But she's like, babe, I don't know if we're gonna be able to do this. And I was like, well, I guess we'll see.
Did she mean living in Jackson in general?
Yeah,
or?
She meant living out here in general. She does not like the cold. But she's acclimated. She's doing good with it now. But that was a trip coming through there.
Definitely. I'm trying to find you a video. For those of you that follow me on Instagram, you probably saw this last Christmas. Here it is. My brother Ryan and I, we came out here just for a vacation, and then when we drove back.
Whiteout conditions.
Yeah, we drove back. And it was snowing in Jackson when we left, and then we kind of got in front of the storm, and then it caught back up to us. And this video I posted to my one of my stories back then. It was like so windy. The snow was just going totally sideways. We couldn't see more than like 10 feet in front of us. We're going like 35 on a freeway because we couldn't see anything. You couldn't see the side of the road, nothing. And we kept looking at these radars, and it would be like, no snow in your area, it's clear. But it's like, no, the wind is blowing this snow from somewhere north of us all the way down to like Nebraska. So that's what that was. It was just nuts. Like we were just, the drive normally takes like 18 hours from here to Minneapolis. That one took like 24.
Boy.
Yeah. And we like even like stopped one of the nights just to sleep at a hotel instead of driving through it. Which I'm reluctant to do because I just want to get it done with. Yeah. But that one we had to. We couldn't inch along for that much longer. But we eventually got home. But yeah, so after, where did you move to first out of Maryland?
So the first move, is obviously the biggest one and the hardest one because you've got to break away from everything that you know.
Yeah.
And this is something that I like to stress to a lot of people is doing that, and it's something that we've talked about, breaking out of what you're comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And so the first move was down to Florida, Florida Keys, more specifically Marathon, which is basically halfway point between Miami and Key West. So growing up, he's not by blood, but I kind of lived with his family. I consider him to be my older brother. I tell people that he's my older brother. It's Justin Brunt. And he is, I guess, 3 years older than me. And he moved down there just on a whim. He bought a house up in Maryland, and he owned his own dump truck, had his own dump trucking business, and I'm going to go down to the Keys. So him and his girlfriend at the time bought a little old camper and started renting out their house that they had and drove down there and started living in the camper. And she got a job waitressing at one of the restaurants down there, big tourist area. And growing up, I used to go fishing with his younger brother. Was initially my friend. He's my same age, Tyler, and he's 3 years older than us. We would all go fishing with his dad, and so Justin knew some about fishing. I wouldn't say he was a avid fisherman, but he knew his way around a boat. He started walking up and down the docks, and he's one of those type of guys that can just talk to anybody. I mean,
awesome.
Just a really super friendly guy, very outgoing, and he started talking to one of the captains down there, and the captain said, well, if you want to work here, come tomorrow morning, and I'll take you out. And so that's what he did. And he ended up starting to mate for this guy, and now he's a boat captain and lives down there full time and runs his own fishing boat.
That's amazing.
So he did that. Got kind of sidetracked there.
Yeah, sorry. Our dogs just walked in and wanted to say hi.
So he started doing that, and I was living in Maryland at the time. I had just graduated from college. I was painting houses after college because that's what I was doing through college to kind of make side money. And went down to visit him, and I was like, dang, this is badass. Like, I can't believe that you came down here and you live here now. Like, this is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, man, it's cool. Like, if you want to do it, you got a place to stay. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, if you want to move down here, you can stay with me for, however long until you get situated. And so driving home from there, it was like an 18-hour drive. And I thought about it the whole way, and I said, yeah, he's right. Like, I should do this. What do I got to lose? I've got an environmental studies degree, and I've been doing interior painting for the past 2 years. And so went and had a meeting with my coworkers. We were starting to form up this business. 2 guys that were older than me, and had a couple employees and stuff, and they were really gung-ho about me being a partner in this whole thing. And I went to this meeting about, getting this really going. And I told them, I was like, well, sorry guys, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. This sucks.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, but we're making all this money, and we're going to make even more. And like, you're making a stupid decision. And I was like, nah, this sucks. Like, yeah, I'm making money, but I'm freaking miserable. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so, I don't know, about a month after that, I sold most of my stuff and drove down to Florida.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that was what Matt was saying before we started recording, and then on actually the podcast with Noah, we were talking about how it's a special, it's an important moment in your life when you realize and you like tangibilize that you don't actually need to stay around where you grew up. Like, you can just be like, I want to go live over there, and I can go do that, and then you just go do it. It's like a very important moment, and it's not to say that you shouldn't, everyone needs to move away from where they grew up, but if you're not totally happy in the place you're in, like, there's nobody stopping you but yourself from going to where you want to be happy.
People our age have so much opportunity to do this too.
Yeah.
I mean, you can buy a car super cheap.
Yeah.
Gas is cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And I know plenty of people now I never would have known these people had I not done this, but I know plenty of people who live out of their cars. And I used to, be so stigmatized to, oh, you live out of your car, you're a freaking bum, like, you must be a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. And, for a lot of people our age, that's not the case. They're smart, and they're smart enough to know that they're not happy in one place, and they say, screw it, I'm leaving. I'm going to go be a kayak guide. I'm going to go, do whatever they enjoy. And yeah, they don't have 2 nickels to rub together, but they're living.
And they're happier than they would be if they were making money painting houses or something.
Exactly. That's the thing. I was fortunate enough to have made a nest egg painting houses. I had a motorcycle that I sold before I left. That was tough to part ways with. But, when you do something that you really enjoy, you realize that the money that you make doing something that you hate can't buy you the same happiness that you can have doing a job that you enjoy, not making much money.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing. And that kind of reverts back to the area that I grew up in, super wealthy. It's crammed down your throat. You need to have $1 million house. You need to, make all this money to be happy. And if you don't do that, then you're nothing. Mm-hmm. And that was a very hard kind of idea to break away from because you're surrounded by it.
Yeah, especially there. How many people get true joy out of working for the federal government?
No one.
Probably, yeah, a lot less than are working for the federal government.
Yeah, no, no.
Unless you have your own department and you do something that, gives you. Oh, look at this. So Bridger just hopped up on the couch and then laid on my lap to want to snuggle.
He's a big dog. He takes up about half the couch.
Yeah. But yeah, that you're totally right in that you see pretty quickly once you start doing something that gives you fulfillment, mm-hmm. that fulfillment feels a lot better than any money you would make doing something that isn't as fulfilling.
Yeah, for sure. And that for me, so I totally followed in Justin's footsteps. I got down there, started living with him, and I was having a hard time finding a boat to get on. Uh-huh. And the same guy that got him his start had his own boat, and he said, "Oh, you're a cool guy. Why don't you start coming and washing my boat every day? I'll give you $40 to wash my boat, and you'll be down here at the dock. You'll be meeting other people. I can set you up with other boat washing gigs." I'm like, okay. So, it wasn't much, but it was enough to live off of. You live off $40 a day. And so I washed boats for the first, month that I was there. Wow. And eventually I found a captain to pick me up. And his name's Dave Schillinger. He is a hell of a guy.
Does he go by Captain Dave?
He goes by Captain Dave.
Awesome.
Yep.
I love that. I have a funny story about that when you're done. If I
okay. Well, feel free, because I'm going to have to talk about Dave in this. Because, so, got picked up by him, and he wanted somebody that didn't know anything about charter fishing, which I did not. I had been maybe offshore fishing 5 times. I knew enough to know that I didn't get seasick.
Yeah.
And that was about it. And so that was kind of my lucky break was meeting Dave. And Dave and his wife ended up taking me in. They were, they're the real salt of the earth people. They didn't have much down there. They kind of moved down there on a whim. Dave was working for a pipeline company running heavy equipment and made a little bit of money and decided to move down to the Keys. And he learned charter fishing from another guy down there, Dave Jensen, which is another character. And so Dave bought a boat and called it the Right of Way, which on the pipeline, the shot that they make to run the pipe is called the Right of Way. Oh. And so he decided to name his boat that, so that when his boss called him and his boss asked, where are you? He'd say, "Oh, I'm on the Right of Way." So, kind of funny.
That's hilarious.
So he said, screw that kind of work, and decided to be a charter fisherman. And so I worked for him, and it was hard. Yeah, it was a lot of days. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know some of the fish that we caught. I'd have a client reeling in a fish. I'd be looking up at Dave on the fly bridge, and he'd be looking down, and we'd pull the fish up, And if I didn't know what it was, I'd look up at him and he'd go, "Oh, that's a nice, African pompano," or "Oh, that's a nice, mutton snapper." And I'd be like, "Oh yeah," I'd bullshit the client, "Oh yeah, this is a great fish." And that's how I learned. I mean, I knew nothing.
That's funny.
And we had a lot of days out there where I would screw up because I was nervous. You've got a client on the boat that's paid $2,000 to come out there and fish for the day.
Whoa.
And, they catch a nice mahi. You get it next to the boat. It's the mate's job to gaff the fish and bring it in the boat. And I can remember one trip where, there were several of these, but one stands out in my mind. This guy came out and we had a rough day and missed some good fish, and it was getting down to last hour of the trip. We hooked up on a good mahi, had it right next to the boat, and I screwed up the gaff shot and it got away.
Oh no.
And we rode, an hour back to the marina and pretty much empty-handed, and that sucked. You've got this guy that paid a ton of money. The captain's pissed at you, and it's your fault that it was a bad day. And I can remember we dropped the client off, and we're driving back to Dave's house. He had a dock right in his backyard where we kept the boat. And I climbed up to the fly bridge, and I said, "Well, I guess I'm done here." And he looked at me, and he goes, "Yeah, you really fucked up today, but we'll keep you on." And I was like, "Are you sure?" And he was like, "Yeah, you'll figure it out. You'll get it." And,
Wow.
it took a little while, but I did, and it took a lot of him. I can remember him up on the fly bridge. He nicknamed me Frigate Bird, which is a very gangly, tall, lanky-ass bird,
Yeah.
which is I kind of resemble. And I can remember him beating on the steering wheel of the boat. "God fucking damn it, Frigate Bird!" And I'm scrambling around down in the pit, which is what you call the deck of the back of the boat.
Uh-huh.
Floundering around trying to get stuff going. It was quite the learning experience. But I eventually figured it out and became a pretty halfway decent mate on a fishing boat.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that was,
You're kind of like Gilligan.
I guess so, yeah.
Like big, tall, skinny Gilligan.
So, yeah, I lived in the Florida Keys for about a year and a half and loved it down there. It's a lot of fun. A lot of people our age live down there who kind of, serve the tourism industry. And the Keys are great, but there's only two things to do down there. That's fish and drink. And that's it.
When the fishing isn't good, then the drinking is good.
Exactly. And, even when the fishing is good, the drinking is still good.
Yeah.
And,
it's the same here. When the snow is bad, you're drinking because you're bored. And when the snow is good, you're drinking because you're excited. So you're just always drinking.
That's the keys. You're not, as a mate, the clients are always drinking on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And they always want to drink with the mate because it's your job to bullshit with the clients. It's your job to make sure they have a good time.
Yeah.
You're a fisherman, but you're an entertainer.
Yeah.
And, the guys always want to drink with you. And the rule is, the captain and the mate don't drink until the boat's tied up. As soon as the boat's tied up back at dock, we're cracking beers.
Uh-huh.
And, you're back at dock and there's 5 other fishing boats that have just tied up. All those guys are drinking.
Yeah.
The people that are on the boat are already wasted. And, they leave whatever extra beer there is.
Yeah.
And you've got 2 or 3 hours more work to do once the trip's over. The captain...
cleaning and stuff?
Right. The cleaning, boat maintenance, all that kind of stuff. So the captain is filleting out the fish, talking with the clients, doing whatever. And, all the mates are cleaning the boats. And so, you're starting to crack beers.
Mm-hmm.
And, I would say on average per day down there, I drink between 8-9 beers a day. And, it's light beer, and you're sweating a lot down there because it's hot as hell.
You drink a lot of Yingling?
No, New England's more of like a Northeast kind of beer.
I guess I've only had it. I've had it a few times. I go to Florida for work like almost every year, so there they have it, and I get it there.
They have it. It's a good beer. Don't get me wrong. I love New England. A lot of Miller Lite. That was kind of like the beer of choice down there. Drank a lot of Miller Lite.
I call those pork chop waters. I hate Miller
I've never
Lite.
heard that.
Yeah. I growing up in Minnesota, it's like probably the most popular or second most popular beer that everyone drinks because it's in Milwaukee. So all of Wisconsin drinks it.
Yeah.
A lot of Minnesota drinks it. And so like a lot of people. Like shout out Tyler Jokinen, if you're listening. This guy's whole family, all they drink is Miller Lite. So Taylor and I went to his family. He's like a farm with a bunch of land they hunt on. They do like 4-wheelers and shit there. Shoot guns and stuff.
Talking my language now.
Yeah. But yeah, what your all your friends' houses were like when you're growing up. Northern Minnesota, but if you go there and like all the fridge is just stocked to the gills with Miller Lite because the whole family only drinks Miller Lite.
Yeah, so same way with the Keys.
Yeah.
Miller Lite's kind of the beer of choice. But, for me, being in the Keys, I loved fishing. It was a lot of fun. You never knew what you were going to find out there. You never knew what you were going to see. You never knew what you were going to catch, for sure. And then you never knew what kind of tip you were going to get when you got back to the dock.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a total crapshoot. Every day is different. And every day is an adventure out there. There was one day where we were fishing this tournament, and we would always look for trash in the water because it holds fish. Bait fish will come to take shelter in the trash.
Yeah.
The bigger predatory fish that we're trying to catch will hang out underneath it, eating those bait fish off of it. So Captain Dave sees this thing floating in the water, pulls the boat around, says, free bird, pitch a couple baits at this. Cast a couple baits at it, get a look at it, and it looks weird. It's this, rectangle package thing in the water. And Dave goes, I'm going to back down on that. There were no fish on it. I want you to pull it on board. Let's see what it is. So he backs the boat down.
Was there a client on board too?
This was an odd day. So Dave loved to tournament fish, and we would put together tournament crews to go out and fish these tournaments down there in the Keys. They paid out some money. You pay in a little bit. Charter fishing is a lot of gambling with these tournaments.
Yeah.
So we would get in them, and it's good name recognition for the boat. You win a tournament, you get a lot of press, a lot of PR, and then people are going to want to sign up for trips on your boat because they know the crew's good.
Yeah.
So we're fishing this tournament, and we had all people that we knew on the boat. Including this kid, JC, who is a stellar fisherman. He was, I think, 11 or 12 at the time when he was on the boat.
Wow.
And this kid would horse in a fish that weighed as much, if not more than him, better than adults who weigh 3 times what the fish weighed.
Wow.
I mean, this kid's a fisherman. His dad's a fisherman. He grew up down there. That's what he's going to do. He's one of the best fishermen I've ever met. But anyhow, we had him on the boat. We had a few other people. We back down on this package and pull it up on board. And the first giveaway that it was going to be something interesting is it was wrapped in a feed sack that said Product of Columbia.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're like, all right, this is going to be something interesting. So start cutting it open, get through the feed sack, and it's a bunch of individually wrapped in like the industrial grade saran wrap kind of stuff, bundles.
What colored bundles?
Well, the packaging was brown, so we didn't really know. And we had 2 guesses. It was either bricks of money or it was bricks of blow. And so I take my knife out, I cut one of them open, and sure enough, there's the white powder.
Oh my God.
So we've got about 60 pounds worth of pure cocaine on the boat at this point. Now this isn't exactly an unheard of coincidence in the Keys.
Yeah.
Because a lot of drugs are smuggled up through there.
Uh-huh.
And the people in the Keys who are doing that shit because they're running around in Lamborghinis And they got, houses right on the water. They got the big cigarette boats.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that stuff going on down there. And so we pop it open. It's blow. And I look up at Dave and I'm like, what do we do now? Because that's a lot of money on the boat right there.
Yeah.
And, we looked it up and uncut, that's like $2 million right there.
Oh my God.
And people that you can sell it to down there.
Yeah. I mean, you can just go to any bar probably.
Yeah.
Or
not with that much. You got to go to the people that do this kind of thing.
Oh, the suppliers. Yeah.
Right. And so he's like, oh my God. Like, he doesn't know what to do. So he's like, all right, everybody shut up for like 10, 20 minutes. I'm going to think about this. He's up on the bridge. He's thinking. He's looking around. And he goes, guys, you all are going to hate me, but we got to turn this in. And I kind of looked at him like, you sure? And he's like, we got to turn it in. We got a 12-year-old on the boat. We got to set the right example. So we called the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard is like, so what do you have on your boat?
Oh, my gosh.
And Dave goes, I have something that you guys need to come pick up. And they're like, well, what is it? And he's like, well, I don't feel comfortable saying what it is over the radio. And they're like, well, they kind of give him attitude. They're like, well, we're not coming out there unless we know what it is.
Wow.
And he goes, I got about 60 pounds worth of fucking cocaine on my boat right now.
Motherfucker, get out here.
We just found. And they go, oh, okay, we'll be right there. They sent the cutter out. They were flying out there.
Yeah.
And, they picked it up, and they were all stoked on it. They couldn't believe that we turned it in. And they're all taking pictures with it and stuff. And so,
That's incredible.
it was made for a great story.
Yeah. Is that the account for the boat?
No, that's my account, the Tropical.
I got to follow you.
Tropical Yeti.
Tropical Yeti. So, yeah, if you want to follow Matt and his travels, I haven't even followed him yet.
Tropical_Yeti.
Yeah.
A nickname that was given to me by the guy who suggested that I become a snowmaker.
Interesting. You got to update your bio. You're no longer a guide for Hawaiian paddle sports.
No, I'm not.
Olympus TG4. Is that a camera?
Yes, that is a camera.
Do you get into photography?
A little bit. I like photography. I'm not super into it. I like to take pictures. Usually I don't have my camera with me. The Olympus TG4 is the camera that I used for work when I was a kayak guide, which we'll get into, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it's a shockproof, waterproof camera. It's a point and shoot, simple thing. It takes really good pictures for what it is. And my old man actually got me one for Christmas a couple years back.
That's a great gift. Yeah, this is the camera that I do all my stuff on.
Okay.
You'll see on my Instagram all my pictures around here and all the stuff I do for like the clients that we pick up for the marketing company. It's all on that. Another lens, like a skinnier lens. It's for like it gets really it like pulls in the landscape if I'm doing like some behind the scenes stuff. Like you see all these prints that we have right here.
Yeah.
So those are all taken, all on this camera and all by me.
Oh, killer! Dang.
So we just actually I can't say it on here. We ordered some prints for some Christmas gifts for people. And if you think it's about you, message me, and I'll let you know if it's for you or not. But we have them all here in the house.
Very cool.
But that one there, so that's just the same one back to back.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to see if any like local businesses want to buy that to put up in their
That's
thing.
a great shot.
Yeah, I took it, and I'm still mind blown by how it looks blown up like that.
Yeah, it's still sharp.
The most I see it on is like Instagram or whatever, and people got a decent amount of likes on Instagram, but like seeing it in that form is like, holy shit, this is one of my favorites I've ever taken.
Yeah, it's a great shot.
Thank you.
I will be right back. I got to pee. I've bladdered the size of a walnut.
Okay, I'll pause it. All right, we're back. Sorry about that, everyone. We had a little potty break for both of us. We've been having a couple pops.
Much needed.
Yeah. So where did you go from the Florida Keys? Where'd you move next?
So I'm gonna have to lead in with the story of how Jill and I met. We were down in the Keys. She was just visiting a mutual friend of ours, and like I said, there's two things to do in the Keys: fish and drink. Well, they do things like they have a cornhole league to kind of get people out and active and socializing and stuff. So it's kind of a big deal down there. And I never played on the league, but I would go from time to time and just hang out, BS with people, and, watch. And so I'd gotten done a day of fishing, hadn't changed yet, was half drunk, had fish blood and guts all over me, probably smelled terrible, and decided I would go to the cornhole league. And I'm there watching, and there's two girls in front of me, and Jill ends up talking to her friend about backpacking stoves, and I do camping and backpacking and all that kind of stuff, and they were talking about how the Jetboil is so much better than the Pocket Rocket. Uh-huh. Two different types of backpacking stoves.
I have a Jetboil.
Okay, you have a Jetboil.
Yeah.
All right, I'm bougie. Jill says, oh yeah, the Jetboil is so much better, so much easier to use. I'm like half drunk. I'm like, Jetboil's a piece of shit. That's for bougie backpackers. And she turns around, and that was that. We started talking. I prefer the Pocket Rocket myself. A little smaller, simpler to use, I think. The Jetboil is probably a little better.
Yeah, I just have the one. It's not the one that has like that it connects to like the mugs. It's just like the plain, basically just three.
Okay. Three
like
prongs
with the flame in the middle.
Oh, that's the Pocket Rocket then. The Jetboil has
I think it's a Jetboil brand.
Oh.
Oh,
Pocket Rocket type Jetboil brand.
Well, we have one that's a Pocket Rocket, one that pulls up really small.
Yeah. Okay, Taylor from the parking lot has decided that we actually have a Pocket Rocket, so I'm not a bougie camper.
Perfect. The Pocket Rocket's the way to go if you're really hyped. But anyhow, we got to talking that night and hit it off, and she ended up extending her visit to the Keys for another week, and we hung out quite a bit then. And I had a boat at the time. It was a 12-foot inflatable dinghy with a 10 horsepower engine on the back, and I took her on a date out in the Florida Bay on that thing, and it was all over after that. So she was living in San Diego at the time. She went back, and her plan was to move to Hawaii as a travel nurse, basically.
Yeah.
And she said to me one night over the phone, she was like, "Yeah, why don't you come out there with me?" And I thought, wow, man, I don't know, like that's a big move.
Yeah,
like that's far.
How long had you known her?
I had known her for maybe a month. Been with her for like a week.
Yeah. Hi, hello, nice to meet you. You want to move to Hawaii together?
Pretty much. So I really wasn't sure what I should do, and I talked to my captain, Captain Dave, about it. And he goes, "Frigate Bird, you'd be stupid not to do that." He's like, "What's the worst that happens? You guys don't work out. You move back here. You move back in with me. We fish more." He's like, "You always got a job here if you want to come back." And so I said, "Yeah, screw it. Let's go." And so there, I don't know. I moved back to Maryland for about a month to see people and get some things straightened out. Had to sell my car, had to get rid of more material items, and got a plane out to Hawaii. Wow. And I actually stopped over in Breckenridge and snowboarded on my way out there, and missed my flight from Colorado to Hawaii. And Jill didn't think I was coming. She thought I bailed for sure. And the next day I showed up, and she picked me up from the airport, and we've been together since.
Wow. That's really cool. What island were you on?
Well, we were initially on Big Island. We lived there for about 3 months. And there I just worked for a guy doing general contracting stuff. We built a really fancy fence for this person. And from there, we moved to Maui and lived there for 3 years.
I've never been to Hawaii, so I'm gonna look it up on the map here. Just
So we lived Hilo on the Big Island first, which is the rainy side of the island. Everybody, when they think of Big Island, they think of Kona, which is the dry side. There's some beaches over there. Kona Brewing is over there.
I love that brewing company.
Very good beer.
My dad has been to Hawaii a bunch of times, and he loved that. So for in one of the bars at our cabin, they have like a surfboard sign for like a longboard lager, I think.
Oh yeah.
And he would always go in there and be like, "Hey," to the owner, like, "Hey, when are you gonna give me that? When are you gonna give me that?" And I got it for him. I got it from their website for like a Christmas present or something.
Yeah.
So you lived in Hilo, and then you moved to where?
We moved to Maui, and we lived on the beach for the first week until our cars came over there on the ferry.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved to Kihei. We lived there for, I guess, a year, which is down on the coast. We had a tiny little studio apartment right across from the beach. And that was cool, but it was basically like a big screened-in porch where we lived and paid crazy amount of rent.
Yeah, Kihei. I see this is right there. Right by Maui Nui Golf Club?
Yep, just down from there, right across from Maui Wave Riders, where that's like where, I don't know, probably 90% of the people that take a surf lesson in Maui go. Yeah. So we got, we lived right across from the beach. Our apartment looked out on the water, and that was pretty darn cool. And from there, we moved to Kula, which is just up on the mountain from there.
Mm-hmm. Kind of in the middle of the island.
Right.
That's what I'm looking at.
We were like 3,000 feet elevation up there.
Wow. That's dramatic because it literally is sea level at your last place, and then you're 3,000 feet above that.
Yeah. The top of Maui is 10,023 feet high.
What?
Yeah. It snowed up there last winter.
I knew that they had mountains there, but I had no clue there was that much vertical.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah. The top of Jackson Hole Mountain Resort is 10,450.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But the base, the valley floor here is 6,000. Yeah. So the rise is only 4,000 feet. But that vertical rise is literally 10,000 feet.
You can ride a mountain bike all the way from the top all the way down to the coast.
Oh, my God. Can you take a car up to the top? Or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can drive all the way clear to the top. It's all Haleakala National Park. Wow. It was one of my favorite places on the whole island because it's barren. There's these weird silver sword plants that grow up there. And other than that, it's all just lava rock. And
are you like above the tree line then?
Oh, way above the tree line, yeah.
Okay.
Maui has, I believe, 11 different microclimates. So you can drive 20 minutes, be in a rainforest, and you can drive 20 minutes and be in a desert. And then you can drive like an hour up and be 10,023 feet above sea level.
How do they get is the desert formed by all the precipitation being dropped on the mountain, and then the storm doesn't have anything else on the other side of it?
Yep, exactly. Rain shadow. What it's called.
Is that what it's called? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I've learned about that through documentaries, and so that's why, like, most of Wyoming is pretty dry,
right?
Because everything is dropped here in the Tetons or in the Gravant Range, and then the rest of it is nothing.
Yeah.
Same with the Gobi Desert is on the backside of the Himalayas. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Maui's an incredible place, and we loved it there, and. I don't know whether that's the end-all, be-all place. Jill really loves it there. She's a total beach person. Uh-huh. I really like it there, but it's so expensive to live there. And what I would really like is to have, a big piece of land, have a big garage, / maybe a pole barn with a car lift in it, and be able to
do your redneck
redneck shit. Yeah, working on cars and all that kind of stuff. I love that, and that just isn't in the cards for us there. So
here,
What's that?
Or here.
Or here, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know why
You didn't get any cheaper when you moved here.
No, definitely not. So yeah, just it is what it is. But I love Maui. I worked as a kayak guide there, and that was a whole new experience for me. I mean, I had experience with the charter fishing, guiding that way, but I knew how to kayak and I knew how to snorkel and all that stuff. But there's just so much that you learn being a guide and being so hands-on with people that have no idea how to be outside or even how to kayak. I would take people out that didn't know how to swim or speak English. And their goal is to get out there in the kayak and snorkel, and everybody wants to see sea turtles.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. And it's easy enough to get people on sea turtles, but people that don't speak any English, to give them instruction to be able to kayak on their own, in their boat, to get out to a spot where you can find the turtles, and then getting a snorkel mask on them, getting them in the water without freaking out. I mean, it can be challenging some days. Some days are a complete cakewalk, and other days you don't know why you're there.
Yeah. Was your main role to just get them from the beach out to a reef or something where there might be some turtles or fish, and then get them down in the water, and then they find some stuff, and then get them back?
Right, and taking photographs for them the whole time.
Yeah.
So the Olympus TG4 is the camera that we use there. It was provided by the company that I worked for, and the photos were included for free at the end of the tour. So it was my job to get all the equipment ready, get the guests knowledgeable about what they were going to see, take them out, get them in the water, show them the stuff, get pictures of them, with all the turtles and the fish, and point out all the stuff.
Yeah.
And get them back alive.
Yeah.
So it was a ton of fun. You get to see all the different species that live on the reef out there. You get to see reefs grow and die. You get to know certain fish that live on certain areas of the reef. Some days you go back and they're gone, and that's it. They either got caught by somebody for the aquarium trade or they got eaten.
Oh.
And during the wintertime, we would do whale watching tours. And that was what was really the big draw there. Humpback whales migrate to Maui from Alaska. They feed in Alaska all summer. They swim about 3,000 miles down to Maui. They give birth and breed there, and then they swim back. So they spend about 4 weeks in Maui, but they're there for about, 4-month time span. The young ones show up first, the older ones show up last. They kind of cycle through, do their thing, and then they swim back up to Alaska. And we would take people out to see the whales. And, some people came with the expectation that, we might see whales on this tour. And those were always the best, because if you're there within the whale season, you're going to see a whale, whether it's a half mile away or 10 feet off the side of the boat. You're going to see one. It was the people that expected it to be like SeaWorld that were the tough ones. Uh-huh. And I'll never forget, I had a French couple. We got out. We'd been out for 30 minutes, and we had 2 whales that were courting come, 30 feet off the side of the boat, come up, breathe, fluke dive where they stick their tail up in the air, dive back down, and go off. And once they fluke dove, they're kind of doing their thing. They're going off. And I said to them, wow, that was cool, wasn't it? And they turned to me and they go, that was it? And I was like, what do you mean that was it? I was a 40-foot animal, 30 feet away from your kayak.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we thought it was going to come up and play with the boat. And I was like, this is the SeaWorld. That whale doesn't give a shit that you're here.
Yeah.
That whale swam 3,000 miles from Hawaii or from Alaska down to here to give birth, maybe breed if it's give birth if it's a female, maybe breed if it's a male, and swim back. That whale doesn't care that you're here.
Yeah.
And it was all perspective for people.
Is that in like a regular boat or is that in the kayaks?
In the kayaks.
Oh, did you ever have any close calls where they like breached close to you?
Oh yeah, I had close breaches. I had one that came up and flipped over guests with its tail.
Be like, is that good enough for you?
Right, exactly. Those guests were stoked. They couldn't believe it. That was
Yeah.
one of the best days I ever had. But they're very smart animals, and they're very aware of how big they are, and they're very aware of their surroundings. And I mean, we would have mothers with newborn calves come up and just check out the kayaks.
Wow.
And it was when you're that close to an animal that's that big and it comes up and you can see its eye look at you, it's pretty incredible. It puts things into perspective of how small you actually are.
Yeah, you get that with any animal, really. Like out here, if you get close enough to a moose or safely close to a moose in your car, and you see them look at you, you're like, whoa. Or I've had that with antelope and bison and elk and moose and all the animals around here. When they look at you and acknowledge like that you're there, it's like a different feeling.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because it's not just like a thing you see in a picture. It's like another being then.
Mm-hmm.
You see...
It's interacting with you at that point. And
yeah.
It knows that you're a presence there, and it has control of the situation.
Yeah.
You're pretty... you're not going to do anything against a moose or a whale.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
That matter. But I don't know. We had one that came up. It was the one that flipped over the guests. And I'll show you a picture right here. That was the whale, and you can scroll through those ones.
Wow.
But, it came right up under the kayaks, and it spy hopped. That's where they pull their face up out of the water, basically, and their eyes are above the water, and they're looking at what's around. They don't have great eyesight, but they well enough to see things.
What island is that behind that?
That's Maui behind that.
Okay, that's dramatic. That's like what the base of the Grand looks like, that much vertical rise that fast.
Yeah.
Wow. So for this picture I'm looking at, it's a kayaker on the water, a kayak, and then literally touching the side of it is the nose of, what kind of whale is this?
Humpback whale.
A humpback whale out of nowhere. This is incredible. That's one where you can see like a fin like pushing the kayak.
Yeah.
How do they, when you say tip it, how do they tip it? Do they go up and just like smack it with their...
That wasn't the one that tipped. No, so that whale interacted with us for about a half hour, and right there it pushed that.
I remember that happened. That was wild.
Yeah, that was crazy. We can get into that.
Yeah.
But the whale pushed that girl's kayak out of the way with its fin, and then it came up right at the end. It just came up to the guest's kayak with its tail and just lifted it over, and after that it just swam off.
What do you think it was doing? Just like checking to see if it was that the kayak was a danger?
It was playing with us. It was a young one. It was probably a yearling.
A playful whale.
Yeah, playful whale. The young ones are playful. They'll actually mess with you down there. They don't reach sexual maturity until they're about 8 years old, but they'll still migrate down to Maui, and they just kind of bop around and see what's going on. And they're not really going to breed. So they are playful. Mm-hmm. And I've had plenty of whales mess with the kayaks, follow us around, all kinds of stuff. So
wow,
it was really cool. But that other photo that you saw was the
so I was scrolling through his pictures, and if anyone remembers back, when was that?
Oh God, a few years ago.
Years ago,
back when North Korea was the boogeyman.
There was a scare where. Maybe you can explain it better, but somebody like pressed the wrong button in the missile alert system. So people in Hawaii thought there was a ballistic missile heading towards the island.
We got a text. It was at like, I want to say it was at like...
Was it at night?
No, it was in the morning. I want to say it was like 8:30 in the morning. Oh. And I wasn't working that day. Jill was off too. We were still in bed. And the phone makes that crazy noise if you get like an Amber Alert thing or whatever.
Or now they have a national alert text system too.
Right, it basically that. And I, Jill, we kind of like are like, oh, what was that? And I look at my phone, And it reads, emergency alert, ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. And I'm a big conspiracy theorist.
Oh, that's great. So am I.
So I look at it and I'm like, oh, bullshit. I chuck my phone off, the side of the bed, and Joel was like, well, what was that? And I was like, oh, nothing. Don't worry about
missile.
it. I didn't tell her what it was because I didn't really think it was anything, and I didn't want to scare her. And so, we're just laying there, and I'd say like 10 minutes later, maybe not even, a buddy of mine, Curtis, calls me on the phone, and he's freaking out. I don't know why he called me. I guess he thought I had some sort of wisdom to this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he's like, what should I do? I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do. I'm like, Curtis, there ain't nothing you can do. If there's actually a nuke coming this way, you're screwed either way. So what does it matter?
Yeah.
And so he's like, I gotta go. So, he's making other phone calls and so hanging out. And I guess a half hour later, we got another text that said it was a false alarm, and
yeah,
it was nothing, which I assumed. But it really scared a lot of people out there. I mean, it really messed with people. I mean, for weeks afterwards, people were different. I mean,
like doomsday prepping.
Oh no, not doomsday prepping. Just they I guess they thought that they had a second lease on life.
Oh.
People over on Oahu, because that's where all the military installations are out there.
Yeah.
They freaked out. People were down in people opened up manhole covers and got under the street and shit. Out there. They really, because if they're going to send a nuke that way, that's where they're going to aim.
Yeah.
But why is North Korea going to send a nuke out to Hawaii? You and I are smart enough to know that they're smart enough to know that if they did that, we'd wipe them off the planet.
Yeah, we'd send 1,000 nukes to them.
Exactly.
In a second later. We actually probably have some sort of anti-missile something
I'm sure.
that could take it out if we saw it. Because we're always looking at North Korea.
Exactly.
So we can see anything that happens.
Exactly.
But yeah.
But it was interesting.
But wasn't
that's
it
for sure?
Was that the right thing in whoever was on the alert system pressed the wrong button? Right?
That's
was that the thing?
That's what they fed everybody. That's a bunch of.
Do you
bullshit.
Do you think something actually happened, or why do you think that went out?
I'm not sure why that went out. Jill calls me crazy for this, but I'm a conspiracy theorist, and I think they were just messing with people. I think that they wanted to scare people. They wanted this propaganda that North Korea is this bad influence, that we can't trust them, and they're the boogeyman, and this, that, and the other. And who knows? Maybe something tripped an alarm and somebody sent it out. They said that they fired whoever actually sent the text out.
Yeah.
Come on.
They can say whatever they want.
They can say whatever they want. Who's going to know any better?
Yeah. So you thinking maybe it was I don't remember that at that time. Was that when Trump was trying to talk with Kim Jong-un a lot?
It was kind of before that. Yeah, it was before that.
So it could have been a propaganda attempt to be to build them up, to be this is important that Trump talks to them.
Could have been. Yeah, for sure.
I've kind of viewed most recently North Korea as being the poor boogeyman. They want to be scary, but they don't really have any resources to be scary.
No, they can't trade with anybody else. I mean,
yeah.
Well, they can trade with China, but
and that's valuable.
What do they have to trade?
They don't have any exports, yeah.
They don't have any money.
Their people are starving and in work camps.
Right. So, I don't know. I think the whole thing is a big misunderstanding, and I don't. Well, I don't know.
No, none of us know.
None of us know.
Unless you were to become president, we probably won't ever know.
Right, exactly. Or unless we get to go over there or something. But
yeah.
I don't think they're as bad as they come across. I mean, yeah, they're a communist country, and that's shitty, but I don't know. What are they going to do?
Well, I think they want to be bad, but I don't think they have.
Well,
but communism in that way, actually, communism in no way works. Let me get on the record. Communism in no way works. The way they're running their country doesn't allow them to have any sort of resources to be actually scary.
Right.
China's actually scary because they're communist, and have resources. And they're
Yeah.
what are they, like, number 2 economy in the world?
They hold all of our debt.
That's fake news. I mean, they're never going to. What does that even mean?
Well,
we have debt of other countries too.
How are they going to act upon it is the
Yeah.
thing. But what interests me is the whole thing with Huawei and with the 5G thing. They could really screw us with that. If they have control over all of our internet, because so many things now are tied to the internet.
Yeah.
And even more things are going to be.
Yeah.
And if they shut that down on us, banking, money transfer, all that kind of stuff, that could be a big deal.
Most of that, that's actually something I have a lot of expertise in. The company that I work for.
I have hardly any.
Yeah. So the company that I work for, it's called FIS. So it's a provider of like banking technology.
Okay.
So like the core processing platform that a bank would use. So every computer screen that a bank needs to use is called a core processor.
Okay.
And we sell that. So we have clients, some of the biggest banks in the world are our clients. The smallest banks, everyone has some of our stuff. We're the biggest company in that space. So that's all run. We have like, client support stuff overseas, but it's mostly run out of a few different offices here in America. So that specific thing, I don't think would be affected. I mean, maybe the networking part of it could be affected by a third party or a bad party.
Yeah.
But the actual processing of stuff, it's us and companies like us.
Okay. So I guess there's accountability there within the U.S. of all that sort of thing, which I would imagine.
Yeah, and we have all of our data centers like in America too, and like Milwaukee and Arkansas, like stuff away from the coast, so it's not like hurricane or earthquake spots. Yeah, it's strategic where they put data centers. It sounds boring when it's like, oh, we're going to put a data center in Milwaukee. But it's like, that's on purpose. Because it's Milwaukee, I mean, the Midwest, maybe a tornado, but not Milwaukee. It's near Lake Michigan. So
right.
That will stop any tornado, I think.
That's interesting.
It's not, in California, it's not in Florida. Well, we do have some stuff in Florida, but they're starting to move it towards inner America.
Yeah, where nothing happens other than big wind.
Yeah.
You can build buildings that'll protect against that.
Yeah.
Well, that is interesting to me because I'm not a tech guy at all. I mean, you're looking at the computer that I have. That's an iPhone 7. And I know how to get on the internet on that thing. I can pay my bills on it. I can't download a lot of apps because I don't have iOS, whatever the latest version is.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in that stuff to some degree, but I just don't really care to learn it.
Yeah, man, I'd love to talk you through it. Maybe off the podcast, we can just talk through like what the kind of stuff that's going on that I deal with every day. But yeah, it's really interesting.
Fascinating.
Because it's like that's why I like being in the space and wanted to get in the space because it's like it's kind of it's a company that almost everyone in America interacts with almost daily,
right?
But you never know it. So it's like the back office operations of all these institutions in America that like your mobile banking. Like probably is my company started it and run it for your bank.
Wow.
I don't even know who you bank with, but I can say probably that.
It's pretty crazy how money is all just numbers on screens these days.
Yeah, it's turning more and more into like in Star Wars, they were like, we don't accept, like in Star Wars 1, we don't accept Republic credits. And that's like what we're having. We're just moving to Republic credits.
Right.
Because it's just numbers on a phone or on a screen.
It's odd.
Which I'm all for, because like...
You're in the business of it.
Yeah, I'm in the business of it. I have a really easy way to not ever end up in jail.
Don't
break the law.
Exactly. Don't do bad shit. So
yeah.
I think the worst thing that I do is speed on occasion. That's pretty much about it these days. I've toned down quite a bit.
Yeah. I think probably just speeding. Wyoming is pretty...
We don't need to get into the legal shit.
Yeah, we don't get into that.
Podcast.
Yeah. So let's go on.
New subject.
Yeah. So you're living in Hawaii.
Yep. So
and then your next stop is here. So how did you go from being in a tropical island paradise
yeah,
to living in the
tan.
harshest weather area of certainly America,
Yeah.
maybe even parts, not the world, but North America for sure.
So we were living in Hawaii. We loved it there, and it just came down to the point where I felt like we were just spinning our wheels. We're renting a house that's super expensive. The rent doesn't even cover the mortgage of the house that we're living in.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what are we doing here? Jill's working as a nurse. That's her career, which is great.
Yeah.
I'm a guide, and that doesn't pay but peanuts. And yeah, I'm having a great time doing it, but I'm starting to get jaded by it, and it's starting to get old. And so we decided, well, let's move. So we went back to Maryland. We stayed with my dad and stepmom for about a month, which was great. They were totally willing to take us in and have us there. And we helped out around the house. My dad was putting an addition on. I did all the paint work in it and stuff. And Jill decided, well, let's do travel nursing so we can move around.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Did she find a travel nurse company to help with that?
She was working with a company before that she went out to Hawaii with, and then she ended up just being full time in Hawaii. Yeah. And so she got back with them, and we were just looking for places that were close to Maryland to first go to, because while we were in Maryland, we were setting this whole thing up. We bought the SUV, we got the tent, we got everything that we needed to live on the road. And the first job that came up that was day shift, because Jill hates night shift, even though she's working it here for me, was Machias, Maine. And so I said, well, Maine's cool. I've never been there, but I hear it's cool there. Let's go.
A lot of woods, a lot of nature.
Exactly.
Wilderness.
A lot of open space, it should be cool. And she's like, oh, all right, let's go up to Maine. It's close to Boston. She'd go see her family and stuff. So that's what we did. We ended up in Machias, Maine for 3 months. Now, I'm sure nobody listening to this podcast lives in Machias, Maine, or has probably even ever heard of Machias, Maine.
I'm going to look it up.
Look it up. It's, I want to say the population was maybe 2,000 people, and that's for the county.
It's not Machias Port.
Machias Port is in Machias, Maine. Yeah, that's pretty much what comes up. Yep, you're there. So there's Canada right there.
Yeah.
So we're like a half hour from the Canadian border.
Yeah. So it's it's like right on the ocean.
Yep.
Or the Gulf of Maine, actually, is what it says here. But right next to the border of Canada. So he's way up there. That's very remote. Let's see.
It's way up in the boonies.
The Minnesota listeners, it's pretty much the same. Is it latitude or longitude for north and south?
I want to say it's latitude.
Same distance north as Minneapolis. Pretty much. But right next to Canada.
Right next to Canada. So we get up there and we drive up, and it's bug season when we get there. And I mean, I've never seen bugs like that before.
They'll pick you up and carry you off.
Oh, you ain't kidding. They have black flies there. They will suck you dry of blood. Mosquitoes are terrible. And we're like, this place is awesome. It's beautiful up here, but we can't be outside because the bugs will just literally tear you to pieces. It was that bad. And so we got through bug season. That lasted for about a month while we were up there. And it was really hard for me to find work. Mm-hmm. Jill at the hospital was real podunk, real little, but everybody up in Machias, Maine is so friendly. Those, out of all the places that I've ever lived, the people up in northern Maine are the friendliest by a lot. They are the poorest by a lot that I've ever lived around, but they are the friendliest by a lot. I mean,
Jill, more than the Aloha spirit in Hawaii?
The Aloha spirit's weird over there. So you've got a lot of white people that have moved out there. A lot of them moved out in the 70s when it was cheap to live there, the hippies.
Yeah.
those people now have more money than God because they bought land out there. And then you've got the white people that have moved out there that have a ton of money from California. They don't have the aloha spirit. They're still California people.
Yeah.
And you've got the local people, the Hawaiians. And the Hawaiians have resentment against all the other people who have moved there because they can't buy property there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They've been priced out, and they have zero say in government. All the elected officials look Hawaiian, but they're all Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
And the Hawaiian people have just been stepped on and stepped on and stepped on. It's the same thing with any Native American.
Yeah.
And they are very, very friendly people, but it takes a long time for you to get to know them. Jill at the hospital there worked with a lot of Hawaiian people, and it took a long time, but she has great friends that she still talks to from back there. I have some friends from work that I still on occasion talk to. They're extremely friendly people, but it takes a long time to get to know them.
Yeah.
Because they don't trust you off the bat, and I don't blame them at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is. But the people up in Machias, Maine, friendly, laid back, not much money up there. I mean, Jill would have patients who didn't have running water at home.
Oh my
that
God.
came in to give birth,
Have a baby,
and go home, and they're like, all right, well, what should I do? And Jill's like, I don't know. Like, you're gonna have to have fresh water, like for sanitation and stuff with the baby, and yeah, it's tough up there.
Wow.
There's 3 industries. There's logging, there's lobster fishing, and there's blueberry harvesting.
Yeah.
And that's about it. And that's what I did while I was there. I finally found work for this tiny family farm harvesting blueberries. It was quite the experience. It was Welch Farm in Machias, Maine. And I worked for I believe, 4th generation blueberry farmer. It was
Is it different than like Welch's, like the?
It's way different
juice?
than Welch's. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They had about 180 acres up there, family farm, and this guy's name was Wayne, who I met. And I had looked for work all over the place, could not find any. And I was just driving down the road, saw his farm, saw a phone number on the side of the farm, on the barn, and I called it, and I said, hey, you looking for anybody? And he said, well, actually I am, because they have a really hard time finding people to work these farm jobs.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people our age up there. A lot of them are into drugs, and a lot of them aren't fit to work. And so I met him, and he said, yeah, I'd love to have you. So, did not make much money up there at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it ended up not being about the money at all with this job. Wayne was very interested in teaching me blueberry farming and teaching me about the local culture and about his family and blueberry farming. I mean, he had the original tractor from 1918 that they had bought for that farm when they had acquired the farm. Wow. It was still in the barn. It didn't run. And he had said, oh, yeah, it's my goal to one day to, restore that tractor back to running. And it's a good thing that I wasn't there over the wintertime, because I'd have tore that tractor apart and got it running.
Wow.
But it was cool. It was a hell of an experience. I knew nothing about blueberry farming. And by the end, I learned everything about blueberry farming. And it's hard work, and there's not much money in it anymore, especially with the China tariffs. Believe it or not, the Chinese buy most of the wild blueberries that come out of Maine.
For what?
I have no
just
idea.
To eat?
I guess just to eat. I guess because there's so many people out there and they like to eat blueberries. I don't know.
That's weird.
Apparently they process a lot of these blueberries. Most all of them that come out of Maine are flash frozen and, packaged and sent wherever. They get put into baked goods and syrups and flavorings and all that kind of stuff. So Wayne's farm was very small. He had a fresh pack operation where he sold fresh blueberries to the public. He also sold them to the local restaurant that made blueberry pie out of them. And it was a really cool experience. It was frustrating at times because the farm was so poor. The harvester that I ran would break down all the time, and he had this shed that had random nuts and bolts and tools in it, and it was my job to patch up the tractor and get it back out there in the field. And we both kind of got lucky at the same time. He got lucky to find me because I could fix the tractor, and I was gung-ho for it, and I wasn't in it for the money. I wanted to see him succeed and make it a productive harvest, and I was lucky that he took me on, and I had something to do, and it was interesting, and I really liked it. It was not the most fun job that I've ever had, but it was very unique, and it definitely made the Maine experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've had a lot of random jobs, but they're all it seems like you take a lot out of each individual thing.
I try to.
Something different out of all of them. And so far hasn't even really led to the next one, but it's always just bettering yourself, whether it's being out in nature, actually all of these jobs are, or learning a new trade, or learning how to fix a tractor or something like that. It seems like
and that's
you get a lot out of these random jobs.
That's what I'm going for. These jobs don't pay much that I'm doing, so the knowledge that I gain from the work is worth more to me than the paycheck is right now. Mm-hmm. I've got enough money. I can live comfortably. I went to the grocery store before I came here. I bought groceries. I can eat.
Yeah.
And
you can afford to live in Jackson.
I can afford to live in Well, we got really lucky with the house that we're renting here.
Yeah.
But yeah, can afford to live here, and luckily this job, the snowmaking job isn't bad because we get to work overtime. Our set work week is 60 hours a week. 45 of that is regular time, and then however much we want to work after that is time and a half. Mm. So if you're willing to go there and put in a lot of hours, you can make pretty decent money at it.
Yeah. So, and the resort has the money to pay you. It's not like a small operation like you've been in the past where you're they might not have the money to pay me. Right. If I do extra.
Right. Here, it's they got so much money to throw around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it don't matter. What they pay me is nothing.
Yeah. So then finally, from Maine, that's when you came here. So how did you start the process of being we want to go to Jackson over any other place, or tell that story.
So we were basically, I love to ski and snowboard, and I've always wanted to live in the mountains for winter. Jill was kind of apprehensive, but she was willing to go along with it. And so we started looking for places to live and looking at travel nurse jobs out west. We had found several, but they just weren't quite right. And it got to the point where Jill was just starting to call random hospitals. And I think she actually called Taylor.
Yeah.
Or she spoke to Taylor on the phone when she had originally called the hospital here.
Yeah.
She was just calling to see if they knew anybody. And, we really didn't think that anything would come of it. I guess Taylor had given her number to somebody, and they called Jill back, and they said, well, we might need somebody if this person leaves. We're not really sure. We'll let you know in a week. Uh-huh. And we figured out we're never going to hear from them.
Yeah.
Sure enough, they called back, and they were like, yeah,
come here. Matt, come.
If you want to come, you got a job.
Come here, Matt.
And so she got the job out here, and it's where we ended up.
That's awesome.
Just kind of a cold call. So the only reason that I knew Jackson was cool, or that I wanted to be here, was a trip that I had gone on after graduating from high school with my mom and her then husband. We came out here, and we did the whole Yellowstone thing, and I was in Jackson Hole for maybe half a day. Mm-hmm. And, just walking around town and seeing the Grand Tetons, and I was just, I had said to myself, I'm going to come back here at some point. That's for sure. I'm going to come back here. This place is awesome. Mm-hmm. And here I am. It's pretty cool for it to come full circle. I remember we were driving from, east out to here. I don't know what road we were on. I don't know what mountains we were coming through. But when you're driving out here from the east, you come through the mountains, I guess.
Togety Pass.
Togety Pass, okay.
Yeah.
So we're coming through there, and you get that first view of the Tetons.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember seeing them and be like, I was driving, Jill was riding, and I'd be like, oh, my God. And she was like, what? I would go, look. And
they're just there.
There they are. It's like, oh, my God.
Yeah. Taylor and I just recorded a podcast last night, and she said it's the same thing, that it's, you go over that pass, and there's that moment. It's right before you pass Togety Mountain Lodge. There's a lodge up there. Mm. And you're just up super high, and then out of nowhere, the Grand and the Big Three just pop out of nowhere, and they're just like lined up perfectly with the road.
Yep.
The Grand is.
Yep. We're trying to take pictures, and you can't get a picture from that far away. You can't do it any justice.
There's a lot of Instagram pictures of that exact spot. There's
really?
There's like 5 spots in the valley here that you just see nonstop on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
And that's one of them.
Okay. I guess you got to have a better camera than the iPhone
different
7.
lens.
Yeah.
The iPhones for sure could not do it, but like a longer lens.
Yeah. That was unbelievable when we first saw those mountains. Jill had never been out here before. She had no idea. She was just going off of what I had told her about the half day that I had spent out here.
You guys are like you going out to live with her in Hawaii, or just like a go with the flow, and then her just like
leap of faith.
But yeah, you're really okay with big leaps of faith. And her the same, just listening to your half-day experience of out here.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure wasn't even to the full extent of how great this place is.
Oh, no. I didn't even – I had no idea.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy. I mean, she's something else. She's willing to go and just go for it. And the thing that I've learned through all these moves and all this – uncertainty is things work themselves out. Mm-hmm. They have to.
Yeah.
If you're willing to work hard and you're somewhat personable, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah, if you want to work hard and you're there for the right reasons,
right?
Like whether it's karma or whatever, like stuff will just work out.
Mm-hmm.
It
always does.
Yeah,
that's why people who want to move out places shouldn't fear it.
Yeah,
because things always work out, and in this country, there's so much opportunity that you're not going to starve in the street.
Yeah,
it's just
even some of the worst cities, like you can still make a living and you're not going to die.
Right, exactly. And it's so funny every time.